Hi there, thanks for joining. When painting, it is most of the time easiest to start with painting the background and then work your way towards the foreground. An obvious example, of course, is when you paint landscapes. It's easier to paint a sky color first and after that put some things on top of that. So mountain peaks, foliage, branches, all that kind of stuff. That's easier than when you first paint branches and foliage, and then you have to put the sky color everywhere in between at small spots. Then you don't get a coherent background. But the same goes when you paint portraits or animals, for instance. Then often you have some gaps where you see the background, or you see some hair sticking out at some spots. It's easier to paint the hair on top of the background color than that you paint background color in between the hair. Also in objects itself, it's often handy to begin with the background colors and start working forward. So in foliage, for example, you could encounter some dark colors and you put the lighter colors on top of that, so the darker colors will come through in between the lighter colors, and then you get that sense of depth. And that's easier than the other way round. And of course, sometimes it's a little bit scary. We want to have something to hold on to. We want our sketch to be preserved. We sketch the tree, and we don't want to lose that sketch. Then I would say, paint that sketch over with a slightly darker color and let that dry. And then on top of that, you do the wash of the sky color, for instance, and you'll see the sketch shine through a little bit. So you still have the points of reference of your sketch. Another thing you can do as well, of course, is already by starting to give your gesso a color already. I, for instance, prefer painting on a gray background, so most of the time I add black to my white gesso to make it gray, but for some paintings it may be useful to start off with some blue in your gesso already. And in this painting, for instance, I wanted to make a smooth sunset sky, and I wanted to reflect that in the train as well, so I chose to give my gesso the colors of the sunset and made a smooth transition. And after that it was little effort to work towards the foreground, add some details, add some spots, but the background already works through the whole painting. But that, of course, depends on whatever you're painting. Every case is different. So a second thing I think is useful to point out is that if you start with the background, it gets easier to judge the colors and tonal values of the subject you want to focus on. It is very difficult when you paint on a white paper without any background colors or something. It's difficult to judge the colors, to see if the colors are correct and if the tonal values are correct. And that's because you don't have the influence of the surrounding colors that you have in real life or on your photograph. Because in real life and on photographs, all colors work together, all tonal values work together. If you see the subject of your painting without the surrounding colors, it looks cut out, and most of the times it looks too dark. And a lot of times people come to me with the painting and then they have painted the subject, for instance a portrait or an animal or something, and then only that, and the surroundings are empty, and they say to me, oh, the colors don't work and light and dark don't work. And then I often say, let's first focus now on the background color. So add the background colors, and most of the times everything then falls together and works together, and then the painting is finished, to be honest, most of the times. So people are struggling then all the time, so I think maybe turn it around, start with the background colors, the surrounding colors, then it is easier to judge the colors and the tonal values of the animal that you want to paint or the portrait, because you have surrounding colors that influence how you perceive the colors of your subject that you're working on. And then there's a last thing. If you already have a background, you don't have to bother with that anymore at the end of the painting. A lot of times people come to me with their painting and they have finished the animal or the subject that they wanted to paint, and then they say to me, I don't know what to do with the background. What kind of color should I use, or what kind of stuff should I put in it? And if you did that already at the start of the process, you don't have that problem at the end. Thanks for watching, see you next time.